You are light. We are light. And in this very moment, right here and now, we are gathered together to gain our spiritual nourishment. For those of you that are in Zoom or here in person, I recognize that the Spirit, the presence and the power, which is right here within us, is in each one of us. It's God, it's that light that the song was talking about. In the beginning, God, and nothing else. That makes us one with God. God is everywhere present. And as soon as we realize that it's everywhere present and in us, our life will be more comfortable, and it will be with ease and grace. God is our guiding light. That oneness that is God is within and surrounds each one of us. And I know that the Spirit's presence fills us with all that hope, that joy, that wisdom, that peace, that harmony she's talking about in that song. I bless the media technicians that make our service flow with ease and grace, and for the musicians whose music and words can mean so much to us and enhance our service. And I bless Neil, our minister in training, as he is the vessel through the words flow right through him to us, right from God, the message. I know what needs to be heard is going to be heard, and what needs to be said is going to be said. And I know and feel that light is within us and within God. It's here, and so it is.
At Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont, we believe in spiritual living. Above all else, it is a philosophy that teaches us how to think and not what to think. We invite everyone to practice this philosophy by living in principle. We believe that God is all there is, and each person's relationship to God is a personal one. Every person, place, and thing, and all the space in between is not only an expression of God, but God itself. All love, peace, and beauty that is God exists within each person right now. Together we are all connected as one. Our faith allows us to apply this philosophy to our lives in every moment of every day. As we live in love, we see love revealed and flowing through the world around us. We act as citizens of this spiritual community at all times. This is how we think. We believe in God, we believe in ourselves, and we believe in you because we believe in spiritual living. We are the Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont.
So good morning again. So our worldwide theme this year for Center for Spiritual Living is Living Everyday Wonder. And I've really liked that theme because it's talking about the idea of spiritual living. It's not just something that we do on Sunday mornings. It's not just something that we read in a book. It is something that a truth that we live every day. And our topic this month was the inner life. And our topic today is forgive to live. And I have to admit that I had some struggles with this topic. Like, hey, let's do a 20-minute talk on forgiveness. That's not a big topic. It's a huge topic. There's a ton of things out there, lots of good teachings, lots of good philosophies. But for me, forgiveness is very personal. It's a very personal journey. It is a process and a state of being. It's not just something that you do one time. Sometimes you do it every day. So for me, forgiveness is a very personal topic. And you may not know this about me because I don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I have a lot of experience with forgiveness. I grew up with physical abuse, sexual abuse, kicked out of my house when I was 17, dropped out of high school when I was 15. And that's just the beginning, right? But I'm standing here today, a practitioner with a master's degree, and believe me, I know that my life could have gone in an entirely different direction. So when I tell you that forgiveness is a very personal topic to me, I'm not kidding. This spiritual philosophy and this teaching not only helped me transform my life, but in a lot of ways, I think of it as helping save my life, because my life could have gone in a different direction. So this is a personal topic for me. So I decided to bring a little bit of that for you this morning. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that I have learned from this philosophy and from this spiritual practice about forgiveness. The first one is you have to look at it. Step 1, look at it. What is the it that I'm talking about? I'm talking about the hurt, the pain, the discomfort, the grievance that has happened to us. Before we can move on, we have to be able to look at it. Because the truth is, the first week of this month, we talked about seeing God inside of us. And last week, we talked about seeing God and perceiving God everywhere in the world. But the truth is, we're not perfect. Newsflash. There are times when we forget that divinity within us, and we blame ourselves for things. There are times when we forget to see God in the world, or the world forgets to see God in us, and we act unskillfully, or people act unskillfully towards us. That's life. And the truth is that all of that pain and suffering and discomfort that we go through sometimes is also an avenue of spiritual growth. It is how we can have empathy and compassion and oneness with all the people around us. Because I have felt that. I've been there. I've been where you are. And I know the way out. So I can feel compassion. I can feel that oneness. But, that doesn't make it better. The difference I have learned is in identification. I am not the things that happened to me as a child. I am not the things that people sent in my direction. I am not the sum total of my worst decisions. I am not the sum total of your worst decisions. The truth is, I am that which I am. I am that which is eternal, that which can never be harmed, never can be hurt, that which is connected to the entire universe. And that truth is not something I can earn, and it's not something that can be taken away. That is the definition of grace. It's not something I earn, and it's not something I can take away. It doesn't matter who does what to me in the world. You can't take that away from me. I am that which is divine. But the truth is, you can't heal what you aren't willing to feel. Our spiritual teaching is not to stick our ears in our fingers. Yes, that's what I meant. Stick our fingers in our ears and say, la, 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 all is well, all is well, all is well, while the world's falling down around us. That's not what we teach. You can't heal what you're not willing to feel. Before you can heal it, you have to be able to move through it and to be honest with yourself. But that doesn't mean that we get stuck there. It's not who you are. It has no reality, no purpose, no power of its own. It's an experience. Just like you wouldn't get on a roller coaster and say, oh, man, this roller coaster happened to me. It was something that you experienced. You got on the roller coaster, you had that experience, and then guess what? You got off. And sometimes you choose not to get back on. But the truth is that some of us are still on the roller coaster. Gang, oh man, when am I going to be able to get off this thing? Guess whose choice that is? But if you think about it, right, it's like a forest fire. It's like a campfire. If you don't tend that fire and take care of it, it's going to turn into a forest fire. It's going to turn into a whole nother experience that you didn't want to have. If you ignore it and refuse to deal with the hurt and with the pain, you're going to have a different experience because it's going to need to get your attention. So our idea is this campfire, right? That pain, that suffering, that fire does happen. We don't stand there and look at the fire and say, nothing's on fire, as the building's burning down around us. Before we can move on, we have to acknowledge it. Because the truth is that I am that divine energy. I am that love. I am that intelligence. And anything that I cannot move past, anything that I cannot forgive, is in the way of God showing up in and through and as me. My job is to be the clearest, most transparent, most available vessel for good that I can be. And when I have those unhealed things in my life, they get in the way. So, first step, look at it. James Baldwin, I saw this quote in my ministerial class, and I really liked it. James Baldwin said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Before we can heal it, we have to be able to feel it. But that doesn't mean that we have to get stuck there and identify with it. Even the phrase, "this happened to me." I like Reverend Michelle Madrano was saying that it was the thing that she was talking about, it was sent in her direction, right? But when you say, "this happened to me," what is the me that you're talking about? Because the me that I am can't be affected by that. The me that I am is eternal, perfect, whole, and complete. So maybe we shift our language. We experienced it, but it didn't happen to me. It was an experience that I had. And I've had quite a few. Part 2. First step is look at it. Second step, put it down. So you know I love Buddhist stories. So there was a senior monk and a junior monk that were traveling together. At one point, they came to a river with a strong current. As the monks were preparing to cross the river, they saw a very young and beautiful woman attempting to cross. The young woman asked if they could help her cross to the other side. The two monks glanced at one another because they had taken vows to never touch a woman. Then, without a word, the older monk picked up the woman, carried her across the river, placed her gently on the other side, and continued on his journey. The younger monk couldn't believe what had just happened. After rejoining his companion, he was speechless, and an hour passed without a word between them. 2 more hours passed, then 3, and the younger monk could contain himself no longer. And he blurted out, "As monks, we're not permitted to touch women. How could you carry that woman on your shoulders?" The older monk looked at him and replied, "I set her down on the other side of the river. Why are you still carrying her?" Step 2, put it down. We have hurts. We have things that we wish hadn't happened. We have ways that we have acted unskillfully and people have acted unskillfully toward us. But we carry those hurts around with us. Put them down. We have this tendency to keep carrying around our grievances like logs of wood in a backpack. And anytime we get the opportunity, we take out a log and we light it on fire. And what do we do around a campfire? We tell our stories. We tell our grievance stories. We rehearse it, we rehash it, we relive it over and over and over again. Let me tell you what happened to me. And even in those worst cases, we get in a competition. Oh, that happened to you, but let me tell you what happened to me. As if that's somehow going to make it better. I was talking to my brother last night about an event I experienced this week, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a minute. But he said something that kind of stuck with me as I was thinking about this talk this morning. He was talking about how he was out in his backyard, and we were talking about some events that had occurred this week and kind of processing the emotions and stuff behind it. And he said, oh, you know what? I got to go in. I ran out of wood. Because the truth is that hurt, that pain is like a fire. And the reason I don't talk a lot about my background is I'm all out of wood. I don't have any need to take it out of my backpack, light it on fire, and tell you my story. I'm all out of wood. The third part is we need to let it go. Step 1, look at it. Step 2, put it down. Step 3, let it go. You can put something down and keep holding on to it. Have you noticed? The title of the talk this morning is Forgive to Live. But the thing is that living is a verb. It's something that you can only do in the present. It means moving forward. And when you hold on to your hurts and your grievances, it's like being tied to a bungee cord. You try to move forward and you snap back to the past. I try to move forward and I snap back to that thing that happened to me 20 years ago. I move forward and it continues to keep holding me back, to keep pulling me back. It keeps yanking us back to the past. Forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about choosing freedom over my grievance story. My freedom is more important to me than telling the story and reliving it and rehearsing it and rehashing it. We need to cut that cord. One person said that, Michelle Madrano this morning was talking about this idea that unforgiveness is like swallowing poison and hoping the other person's going to die. Buddha said anger is like holding hot coals, thinking that you're going to throw it at somebody else, but you're the only one that gets burned. Right? We have to let it go. We have to put it down. But we have these like strings and ropes and bungee cords that attach us to events in our past. And they snap back to us whenever we allow them to. It's like carrying the matches in my fire metaphor. We allow things to light the match, to trigger us, and to yank us back to that place in the past where the truth is things could have been different. But part of forgiveness for me has been recognizing that I can either choose to be free or I can choose to continue to relive those past hurts. I have to let go of the idea that it could have been different, that it needed to be different. It is what it is. It was what it was. And I get the opportunity to let go of the belief that you should have done it differently. Or in my case, you should have known better. Or I should have done better. Or I could have made a different choice. Let it go. That's just the bungee cord yanking us back. That's just the light of the match to light the fire to tell our story and to relive our grievances. Jennings is a CSL minister who writes a question and answer column about the science of mind in the Science of Mind magazine. He has a new book out called More Than We Seem. And it's a compilation of all the questions and answers that he's answered in the history of him being at the Science of Mind magazine, of all the questions that people have asked about our philosophy. It's a really interesting book. But in that book, he says, forgiveness is about taking the emotional heat out from an event, so we no longer define ourselves by that moment or those energies. Taking the emotional heat out of an event, so we no longer define ourselves by that moment or those energies. How do you know when you have truly forgiven a situation or yourself or another person? You know that that forgiveness has really taken place when you can think of that situation and that person without reliving it and without having that emotional fire. It's like looking at a campfire that has ashes and has been burnt. We don't get to escape the consequences of our choices, and other people don't get to escape the consequences of the choices they've made, but that doesn't mean that the fire needs to keep burning. Yes, there will be ashes, but that doesn't mean that we need to live there. So I know that I have healed that part of me when I can think of that person in that situation without the fire starting up again, without the need to tell my grievance story, without the need to rehash it, rehearse it, and relive it. So, I got to live all this week. The blessing and the curse about being a CSL minister is whatever you're talking about that week has a tendency to show up in your life. Yay. So I got a call this week from my half-brother with the news that my birth mother passed away very suddenly. I got a chance to look at this and to live this. If I had not done some of the work that I have done through the power of this teaching, that probably would have been a match for me. It might have been that match to light that fire, to tell my grievance story, to relive it and rehash it and go there all over again. But because I had done this work, I was able to remove that emotional heat for the situation. Because the truth is that this person, my birth mother, I didn't have a big relationship with. But this is the person who refused to acknowledge that she was even pregnant with me. She told everybody she thought I was appendicitis. Do I look like appendicitis to you? According to my social worker, she wouldn't, when I was born, she wouldn't even hold me, she wouldn't even look at me. And it took me 15 years, a private investigator and 2 genealogists, to find out who she was. Which I wouldn't be able to do, by the way, without a very brave person who was my half-brother, Daryl. He was the one person in the family that stepped up and said, yes, I'll take a DNA test. He's been one, and he's supposed to be watching this morning, so if you're out there, thank you. Because without him, that mystery would have gone unsolved, and I wouldn't have gotten that closure. But this person, my birth mother, she wouldn't even, when I did find her, she wouldn't even talk to me. She would only talk to my half-brother, and then he had to tell me what she said. Wouldn't even acknowledge my presence. Besides giving me life, the only thing she gave me was this false belief, this controlling idea that I'm not wanted. And it was through the power of this teaching and this philosophy and the process of becoming a practitioner that I was able to let that go. But the truth is, you know what? That may have been the first sentence of my life, but it didn't have to be a life sentence. It may have been the first sentence of my life, but it didn't need to be a life sentence. I looked at it, I put it down, and I let it go. Because the truth is, I'm all out of wood. The fire that burns in me now is that I am one with infinite possibilities and energies of the universe. And I invite you all to sit by that fire and warm yourself, because you are all welcome here. And so it is. So I just invite you now to go within, to enter into that inner life, that place and that space that can never be hurt, never be harmed, that place that is God, that is pure love, that is pure spirit, that is pure intelligence, wisdom, grace, ease, beauty, perfect right action. It is that which you are. You can't earn it, and it can't be taken away from you. And when we live from that inner space, that inner place, we recognize the allness of God. God is present right here and right now, filling this space, filling this place, filling each one of us, living its life as us. I know that truth for me, I know that truth for you, and I know that truth for everybody within the sound of my voice. God is present because you are present. You are bringing the love, the peace, the intelligence, the wisdom, the creative power back of the universe into this room and into your life. And so it's from that place of unity and recognition that I speak my word for myself and for everybody within the sound of my voice. Knowing that whatever is needed, wherever there is a perception of lack or limitation, it is now dissolved. It goes back into the nothingness from which it came. Because it has no power, it has no substance, it has no reality of its own. There cannot be God and. The truth is, there is only God. There is only perfect right action. There is only abundance and balance. And we simply take this opportunity to open to that awareness, to that truth. Allow it to flow in and through and as us, and to manifest into our lives in any way that it needs to. We speak our word this morning for our beloved family member, Terry Silva, knowing that she is the light of God, and that God is present right where she is, moving in, through, and as her as she moves through this experience of her life. I know that God is present right where she is, that divine right action is right where she is, that love and peace and wisdom are moving in and through and as her family, through her caretakers, that all of the perfect decisions are taking place. I know perfect right action is right where she is. And so it is just simply with deep gratitude that I sit and I seep in this God presence, this God awareness. For where I recognize God, there can be no other. And in great gratitude, I surrender this word into the law, knowing that that law is certain, that law is love, that law is perfect intelligence, and it is reflecting back to us everything that we place into the soil of spirit, knowing that it all comes back to us in all the ways that it is needed. And so I simply say, and so it is. I invite you to stand up with me and place your hand over your hearts as we close out our morning this morning. There is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all of my affairs. I accept it. I embrace it for all that it is and all that it is becoming. All is well. Thank you, life. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us for our Sunday service. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video on Facebook, YouTube, and any other social media you are a member of. To donate to CSL Beaumont, you can text GIVE to 951-420-6909, or you can visit our website at cslbeaumont.org and click the donate button at the top or bottom of the page. You can also mail your donation to CSL Beaumont, 802 Maple Avenue, Beaumont, California, 92223. Have a blessed day, and namaste.